we have Erica here, and also Nanxi is gonna join us as well. Erica here, and Nanxi gonna join us as well. And then I think, and also Reality Defender. So it's we're gonna talk about their amazing technology can totally help, you know, social network or artists to actually identify deep fake videos and pictures. And so we invest in all those companies like probably like either 5 years ago or 2 years ago. But now when GPT-4 wasn't a thing, and then when GPT-3 was actually super popular at Professor Andrew Ng's class at Stanford. So we were very happy that you know, they actually developed the product, and when the time is right, so now they are very well, you know, welcomed in all the social media. Because before, when you were trying to talk to them, and then they were like, oh, you know, violent and pornography, yes, we wanted to detect them, but deepfake videos and pictures, not so much. And now it's really, really bad. So that's why they're doing very well. So I think that says something about entrepreneurship. So you work for, you work on something that may be, you know, not so popular, but have a strong need, underserved, but using the next generation technology. So I think Larry here will talk more about our investment experience and everything. So first of all, I would like Larry to make an introduction of himself.
Well, first of all, we are doing recording by recording ourselves, so we protect everybody else's privacy. Don't worry about it. So yeah, Larry Lee, I'm a founding partner of Amino Capital. I have been around for this venture for almost 11 years. Before that, in 2010, 5 of Tsinghua alumni started a fund. And then in 2011, we invested in Zoom. So pretty lucky. In 2011, we invested in Zoom. And then we founded Amino Capital in 2012. In 2013, we invested in a company called Chime Bank. A lot of young people probably use that. We were the angel investor of Chime Bank. And last year, the company was valued as a 25 billion. So because of that, we were very fortunate to become on the Midas list, number 10 on the Midas list. Co-founder Su is here. Dr. Su Xu is from Stanford. And also, we have quite a few good partners. One of them is Dr. Huikan Zhu. If you see the picture, actually in he joined Google year 2000. Is the Google's image search, the founder of Google image search. Yeah, so single-handed, he started the Google image search because of the at that time people look for pictures of actor and actress. So this is the event that later on was reported again. And yeah, he started Google photo search. And as Google is the first company to do the Google photo search. So he literally is the inventor of internet Google search. So we have a few other partners. We don't want to spend too much time. Amino Capital, so a lot of people ask, so what kind of company do you invest? Are you only invest in Asian? Actually not, we invest in everybody as innovative. So if you look at all the unicorn companies we invested, most of the founders, they are very diverse. Actually, there's only one common about them. Most of them are immigrants. And although they look different, but they are immigrants from India, from China, from Russia, from Japan, from Britain, and the rapper is from Jordan. So literally, so that's why we are very proud to be investors that invest in diversity. And we also want everybody to be proud to be immigrants. Because as a saying, I always say, when we look at the companies, the startup team come to my office, if none of them speak with accent, the chances of success is pretty low. Yeah, because when different people get together, that's the spark. that spark happens. So we are very proud to invest in companies with different kind of background. So now everybody talk about generative AI. We invest in companies that focus on digitization, data, digitization. So we invest quite a few companies, like some of the companies that become really, really hot are the companies we invested 3 years ago. For example, one of the companies here is called Reality Defender. Basically, yes, basically they detect the pictures. Local.
How come?
Nice.
You invited me.
Oh, I saw you were in Boston or something.
No. I saw.
Okay. Oh, yeah. So basically, they detect the fake pictures. So, but now the company is just taking off because there are too many fake pictures, and the business they need this kind of technology. So I'm glad.
And audio and video
No way.
and text,
Great.
which we're announcing in a few weeks. But
Okay.
share with everybody here.
All right.
So we are very proud to be the investors of Reality Defenders. But you have to invest early, not chasing after the hot stuff, right? There's a couple. This is a list of very hot generative AI companies, and somebody else made it. But like there are 3 of them are here that we invest. The other one is called Replit. It's a platform for people to develop software. So we invest them 3 years ago, and like 2 months ago they become a unicorn because they can generate code. Yeah, because they accumulate so many code. Now they generate code. So they become a so-called generative AI company. But when we invest, there's no such a term, or those term was not popular yet. So that's one of the company become very successful. Another one is Ryzo. It's a company that help you to write marketing materials. And when the text come out, it's a search engine optimized. So you would think with generative AI becomes so popular and open AI, it should be dead, right? Actually not. So the new technology, the new wave of generative AI educated the market. So their business become better. So that's pretty much
Okay.
There's just so much thing about Amino Capital. I don't want to talk too much.
Okay, thank you so much, Larry.
Yeah, I want to add one more sentence. And as Amino Capital, everybody is very talkative, so including all of them. But and one thing I want to just introduce, there are so many people here. We are very different here. We have professors, you have students, you have actors, you have directors, you have founders. So try to just mismatch, and serendipity is the best way to meet people that's complementary. But I want to, thank you.
Thank you so much, Larry. So I think it's really, really important to actually recognize, where we're from, and also I actually, know Erica for a couple of months, and we met through a common investor friend, and then I learned a lot from perspectives of directors and producers, and then because we're in Silicon Valley, and Silicon Valley we have this Pixar, and then Erica has been with Pixar over almost like 20 years. So when I actually trying to actually investing in entertainment and AI, and then I kind of like so she's kind of like my mentor for the last couple of months. So we're very lucky that we are having her. So Erica, can you please make some intro if you wanted to share screen, and I'm happy to give you the access. Okay.
Thanks. Well, actually, I hadn't really prepped anything to talk too much about the company because I was really going to focus on AI. Can you guys hear me? Is everyone okay? Okay, great. Sorry. I'm in North Carolina, so I apologize. I was kayaking this morning and I got a sunburn because it's a vacation. Oh, there you go. That's wonderful. Thank you. So basically, I'm from a new studio called Ryzo, and my partner, Todd, who is my co-founder, who works over at Google still in the AI department, and we had developed films, both at Pixar and then independent films together for many, many years, and we both worked at Pixar. We love Pixar. We think Pixar's a beautiful, wonderful company, and it taught us so much. But when we were thinking about leaving, it was really because we wanted to look at some of the capital we think is left on the table at Pixar and at many animation studios that is focused on the potential to activate the characters and the stories that you can build in an animated world in the world of our audience. And specifically for us, we have kind of a double bottom line where we are a mission-driven company with a desire also to do great, to make a wonderful business that makes lots of profit. But we're really facing this moment in the world. Everyone's facing this moment in the world where the questions that we are trying to encounter are bigger than ever before. Our capacity to connect and converse with each other always seems to be diminishing rather than expanding in some way. And we wanted to use this special power that we've seen in animation to connect people, to give people like kind of a common love and a place to imagine and tell stories in a way that is telling great stories, but then starts activating those characters in their lives in other ways. And some of those other ways are, for instance, on Discord, on Twitch, on TikTok, on YouTube. The idea that because of technical innovations, both in AI, in real-time rendering, like across the landscape of filmmaking, we are now able to take characters and give them a second life super quickly, super easily, and extend the storytelling and let it live in the world of our audiences. And so, for instance, our first film that we're working on is called Decimator, and it focuses on questions around like, how do we stop school violence, which is a really huge question, but we're breaking it down into some thematic categories and writing a really fun feature film around it that features animated characters. But the idea is that our characters don't stop when the film ends, that they actually, that's almost the jumping off point for the place that those characters hold in the lives of our audiences. So that's Ryzo. It's incredibly fun. And then honestly, like we started it when AI was just a twinkle in everybody's eye, and Todd being at Google working in AI, he kept telling me, he was like, Erica, everything's going to change. Everything's going to change. We have to be ready for making things in a whole new fashion. And I have to tell you, initially I started using it because he sort of forced me into it. I was like, I like artists. And he's like, try some generative AI. And my experience with it in the beginning was kind of just not great because it wasn't super well trained. And I was using like DALL-E and Midjourney. And then I began using it again later in collaboration with artists and saw just this phenomenal potential, and also started to really understand how quickly everything was growing. And this idea that our studio can't exist without like a very strong intentionality about how we're going to use this technology, what we want to use it for, both for the good of our studio and our artists and the people that we work with, and for the good of our audiences. So I was super, when Sue was like, hey, this is what we're going to talk about, I was like, I'm there. not just for me, I have things to say, but I also am super excited by all the other panelists and listening to what people's perspectives are on it. Yeah, so there you go. That's me, Erica.
Thank you so much, Erica. I think it's extremely important to hear your voice and your insights, and especially, there's a lot of fear and concerns. We definitely have Reality Defender as a tool, but in the meantime, we also wanted to feel like, we are loved, by, like a lot of the producers and animation, comics. So just trying to diminish this scares, and then there are tools, but there is also some insights from you. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
And thank you so much, Ben, and then Dr. Colman from Boston, and then you're here, and that's great. And then I think when we actually, I think almost 3 years ago, when we look at your company, and then because as Larry mentioned, Dr. True, he in year of 2000, he actually he was still a PhD at UC Santa Barbara, and then joined Google. And next month, he as a PhD, and he started Google Image Search. So meaning that image search is a research-driven project. And then in 2007, I think Professor Fei Li, she actually started ImageNet. So that's also a totally research-driven project, because she actually tagged a lot of the pictures on the web. And then about 2017 and 2019, there is like Midjourney, and then they took advantage of all the pictures in the web. It actually, Professor Dr. Chu and Professor Feifei Li, basically they paved the way for Midjourney to actually train their large language model. So I think that's also very, very important research-driven projects. And then I think Dr. Ben Colman, when we saw your project and you were a researcher at Harvard, we saw this is not something so easy to detect the deep faked picture, video, audio, everything. So definitely wanted to learn, your perspective, why you started the company and how the product works.
Yeah. Thank you for having me, guys. I'm sorry for being late.
No problem. Thank you for making the effort.
Let's see if this will show my screen. So is it showing screen? No. I might need a.
Okay, then I'm gonna stop. Oh, you can share. You should be able to.
Okay.
Yeah.
You might need to stop that one for
Okay.
to allow me.
Sharing.
There we go. Yeah. Okay. Here we go.
Oh, yeah. Wow.
Hi guys, Ben Coleman, co-founder and CEO of Reality Defender. I'm not a doctor, but it was really cool to be said that. I just have a master's degree. The rest of my team
Oh,
are.
Master Lee.
The rest of my team has PhDs. They've done a lot more education than me. So we're a 23-person team. Although we met you, we were 3 people. A 23-person team based in New York. We do enterprise deepfake detection because while there's over 100,000 models around generative AI, less than 3% can actually detect deepfakes. Over 97% are all about generating media and fake faces, fake places, etc. And so what our solution does is we don't touch any PII data. We don't record your face or your voice. We never actually know what we're seeing. We do indicate whether it is AI generated or not. And we do this through an API and a web application. And with both of them, you're able to get results across individual models, whether something is indicatively a GAN-based fake face, diffusion, or within text to speech, or voice cloning or other. And we now, I haven't told you guys this yet either, we're now doing it in real time. So working with banks and governments to scan real-time phone calls with over 96% accuracy, precision, and recall, identifying synthetically generated voices or faces. We provide some business intelligence tools, dashboarding, reports, and alerts. And as far as our use cases, I could say with pure confidence that within a year and a half, everything we're doing, phone calls, Zoom, everything is going to have generative AI built in. Not doing anything fake or nefarious, but just because it makes things faster. Having Erica's face on here when we might be able to have a generative avatar that would reduce the amount of compute and reduce the latency and everything else. So in our world, we focus on use cases across every single industry vertical. Currently, we're most focused on fake voices for phone calls and fake faces within liveness videos and liveness selfies, which now your bank is going to ask you, when you do a wire transfer, please confirm you're human, and please confirm you're actually you and not me who's using your information, which we can all steal online. We are launching a generative text detector in the next few weeks, which is really interesting because it has so many use cases across email fraud and chatbot fraud and document fraud. But currently, we're working with governments and large companies, though we are spending time with consumer platforms. But unlike in China and Taiwan and Japan, the US has no regulations yet on this. And so if you read President Biden's cybersecurity directive last month, not one mention of generative AI or deepfakes. And so with the US, we're a little behind. Hopefully in the next year, there'll be rules and regulations that will protect consumers, because right now, here, let me show you something. Let's see if this will work. Right now, any of us can take a fake face and build a whole life online. So this is a GAN-based fake face. We could change the lighting, the look, the race, the hair. And yet, because there's no regulations right now, you can make a fake driver's license and a fake passport, and you can build a whole life online. And you can actually connect to Gabe. He's on every platform, dating, social media, networking. And right now, if you want to do something, the platform does zero. It requires all of you guys, the average consumers, to be experts. It'd be like a world where Google and Microsoft say, hey, you need to identify ransomware because you're clearly experts at it. But right now, because of the lack of regulations, there's nothing. And it's a 10-step process to flag him if you know what you're doing. And then it gets kicked to a human moderator who doesn't actually know what they're doing because they can't tell the difference. And so Gabe lives on dating platforms and Facebook. Mark Zuckerberg makes you become a customer if you want to flag something. So even if you know he's fake, you have to actually give your information to flag him. But he's on Twitter, Instagram. These are all real accounts. Pinterest. And we changed his name to Fake Gabe on job application boards because we got 3 jobs using a fake voice. So again, we realized that we don't make fake faces or fake voices, we just detect them. The generative tools, you could find 1,000 online. But it is a really exciting challenge because even experts like us still can't tell the difference between real and fake. And as far as our platform, we have a very brief demo. So we could drag and drop files, or paste links, and let's find a good one. Yes, this is very cool. Oh, sorry. I didn't realize it was gonna be a.
Yeah, there's only one voice control.
Authorize the $100 million wire. Yes, this is Ben Coleman. Please authorize the $100 million wire transfer from our corporate account. Shide, je jushi benke erman, ching shuquan kong woman de gong si changhu dian hui yi yi mei yuan. Sí, este es Ben Colman. Autorice la transferencia bancaria de $100 millones desde nuestra cuenta corporativa.
Yeah, so happy. Like everybody in LA I talked to, they all knew you. Yeah, and then like Patrick from Rotten Tomato, and then he says he played video game with you.
We do. We play Overwatch together very competitively.
Wow. Yeah, so so happy that you're here. And then even Nancy, she made it like when she was like 23-year-old, and she started her own company, and then we were very lucky investor and happy investor. And then so Nancy's, you know, like definitely realized like hardware is hard. So I think Nancy later on, you know, Impact is purely focused on software, and now it's even like easier for your customer to make software. That's amazing. Take advantage of AI. So maybe you can make an intro of your new company.
Yeah, absolutely. If you want to pull up Blaze.tech so people can kind of just see what Blaze does, just as background. Thank you, Larry and Sue, who I met very shortly after I had graduated from Cal in my earlier 20s of taking the chance investing in my last company, which was acquired and became one of the largest digital display software companies. The reason we started Blaze is at our last company, half of our team were engineers and the other half were non-technical people, and there was always different types of applications and tools that we wanted to build internally that we knew was going to improve the productivity of our company, but our engineers wanted to work on the product. And so if we wanted them to go build a custom inventory managed solution, or if we wanted them to go build something that was a vendor onboarding tool, it was really put on the back burner. And if we wanted to build this, it was very custom. We had custom APIs, and so we needed to have an engineer to do this. And we said, well, what if we could empower our non-technical users to go and build software without writing code? That would be really powerful. And so after the company was acquired, my same co-founders and we started Blaze.tech. And what we're solving for is that you are needing to build a very custom application, but you don't want to rely on engineers to go and do this. We saw that in the no-code and low-code space. Again, this is probably a space that's one of the fastest growing space. People aren't familiar with low-code and no-code, right? Low-code meaning that these are developer tools like Retool that can help speed up development. But at the end of the day, you still need to be a developer to go and build this. You can probably do 70% of it without any code, but then that final 30% that's really important to get the app out, you need a developer to go do this. And so we're like, okay, our audience, they don't want to go learn JavaScript or whatever programming language. They need to go build this very custom tool without using any code. So then we looked at the no-code space. I saw that you put Webflow up there. We love Webflow. Webflow is actually one of our investors, and we love that because they're like the OG in the no-code space. So for Blaze, what you can think of is what Webflow has done for building websites, making it really easy to go build complex websites in a no-code environment with plenty of customization. We are doing for custom software and web applications. So when we looked at the no-code space, one of the issues is that all of the no-code tools is very specific and narrow. It's like no code just for CRM, or it's no code for document management, or it's just no code for doing note taking or something like that. Whereas what we wanted to solve for is that anything that otherwise would have required very custom code, you can go do it now in a no-code environment. So how do you do this? This is really difficult to go and build. So what we've created for Blaze is that it's a combination of a drag and drop interface, so this visual interface that you can go build these workflows. You can build dashboards. I'll give an example. The reason we put like HIPAA compliant, we work with a lot of healthcare organizations because these are organizations, there's so many different custom workflows that you need. If you are a healthcare company, like we work with a lot of mobile nursing companies, you have this patient portal. It needs to be HIPAA compliant. You have to store data in a specific way, but the doctors need to access information in a specific way. And then maybe you have these mobile nurses, the ones that travel to somebody's home. They need to have a mobile portal or a web application, mobile application to access, like what's the next appointment they're going to go to, right? So all of these different custom interfaces. Your alternative right now is going and hiring a developer and doing all this, but instead you can build this in Blaze really fast, 10 times faster than what it would take for a developer to do. So we needed to make it all visual. You don't need to use code, you don't need to understand code. So that's one big piece. And if you've ever worked with like a no-code website builder, you're probably familiar with that. We try to make it a very similar thing. The other thing that was really important is because these are custom workflows, it's one thing to build a website that's read-only. It's another thing with what we do is building these interactive web applications. They need you to be able to input information. And then there's these if-then logic, right? How do you do that and make it easy? That's where we incorporated Blaze.ai. And so the Blaze.ai tool is one where you can use natural language and say and configure these workflows. So for example, you can say you're creating this dashboard, and instead of configuring like I'm clicking on lots of buttons, you can just say I am looking to build show me a graph that shows the most recent 30 days of inventory that has come into the warehouse. And you can type this in, and we're integrated with OpenAI to then process that information and then visually automatically show it in your Blaze editor. And so for us, from day one, we built the infrastructure so that you can use AI to now create these kinds of workflows and web application. We saw that there was these, no code, or these tools where you can use AI to generate code, right? But we're like, okay, still not our audience. Our audience is not going to know, is this good code or not? And then how do I go change the code to customize the application? So for us, it's actually being able to do no code, use your own just way of speaking to go build applications.
Wow, that's definitely if Webflow invest in you guys, then we should also invest in you. That's awesome. Yeah, so time flies. It's almost like but after this, I think if you guys have some questions, and then maybe we can ask Ben, Erica, and also Nanxi. Anybody has any questions? Professor.
Yeah, I just have a quick question for Nanxi. So first, I really like the idea, even though I know how to code, but I hate it.
Yeah.
So as long as it's easier, I like it. But my question is that you said that based on the information I want, it will create the code for me. My question is that how many times does it need to finally it works? Does it may debug, right? So for example, if I use ChatGPT, I wanted to write a code for me, I need to debug it several times. So use your software, it just go one time, or I need to try something?
Yes, it's a great question. Right now, we are only as good because we're not the ones building the large learning models, right? We're just connected to OpenAI. And so it's only really as good as that can give us. And so whenever you input into Blaze AI on our interface and say, please configure it this way, we then automatically then show, is this what you're looking for? And it's a yes or no. And I would say it gets it right probably 80 to 90% of the time, which is not good enough, right? We need it to be really, really accurate. That means you have 1 out of 5 times it's not getting it right. And so that continuously improves. There are some things where the workflows, the more specific language it is, the better it interprets it. But sometimes it does take a couple of tries. In fact, sometimes you can say the exact same thing, input the same exact thing. One time it'll get it right, and then you input the same thing and it shows something different. And so that's a little bit of sort of the trickiness and hurdles we have with AI right now. That being said, one of the things we recognize is you want to have the AI there as something that helps, but it's not that's the only way you're going to configure the application. So in fact, there's a lot of things that AI is not good for configuring inside the application. When you want to go style things, like you want the buttons to be a little bit more rounded, nobody in our platform is typing, make the buttons rounder, right? Instead, they're just going to use the visual editor and just make it rounder, or if you want to change the color, it's so much easier to just pick the color picker inside of the application than say, I want the button now to be changed into #FF1000 or whatever. And so this is some of the things that we're recognizing. AI is not going to consume all of it, but it is there to help, and it's not 1,000%, it's not 100% accurate. If you can get there, that's great, but so far it takes a couple of iterations sometimes.
Maybe one question for Ben from Reality Defender. Yes.
Yeah, can you explain a little bit about your technology and how you can be so sure that it's fake?
Yeah, one item is that we're never actually sure because we never have the ground truth. So our highest confidence level is only 99%, because we're doing inference, which is after the fact, as opposed to provenance, which is proving what originally was created, which we're not doing. So based on each modality, we're building very generalized data sets of real reals and also real fakes, and then training different kinds of neural nets to identify anomalies, either of models that we've found in the wild, or also unknown models like heartbeat or eye blinking or breathing or sound versus mouth, which we haven't seen anyone do well yet, fake. So we're focusing on that and proving it's real, which then if we don't see it, it means it's fake. It's a big effort. It's not good enough just to build good models. You have to be equally strong at building the data sets and for our first year, we tried to use public data sets, but example, there's not enough Southeast Asian faces and voices in data sets. Given we have a lot of clients in Asia, we have to commit to have a certain percentage of representative voices, faces, languages, dialects, because that's the real world. I hope that answers your question. Okay.
Thank you. So I have a question for Erica, unless somebody else has Erica. Okay. Okay.
我都明白 government approve.
Still for fun.
Yeah, we work with a lot of global governments in the US, and I could share NATO, work with NATO because NATO did a big case study on us. So we work with governments globally, mostly for combating geopolitical misinformation and disinformation, but also different types of fraud use cases as well.
So it's also for professor from UCLA, and on the side
cool.
he advised Amazon AI. So maybe you guys can.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, we're doing some work with your teams there.
Oh.
Or at Amazon as well.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
Quick clarification question,
Yes.
sorry. First, so even for like pictures, how would you distinguish between something fake versus something that I like deliberately try to modify myself? For example, I take a picture, when I want to use it for passport, I change the background, I change the lighting, I want to, make myself look slimmer. How do you, how would you do that?
So you're mentioning a beautification, which is,
Filters.
Yeah, so I mean, a lot of times with mobile apps, social media apps, there's, removing my chin or removing this mole that I want to remove. We're focusing on certain types of deepfakes, but there's a spectrum of deepfake to cheap fake to post-processing to Photoshop and so on. And so while we think about all of them, we're focused mostly on the actual complete face, whether it's a face swap or a head swap. But you make a really good point, like where do you draw the line? Like what is fake? So we're working toward being able to identify specifically beautification of change in the color or the chin or the wrinkles. But we don't believe those are fraudulent. Those are more just, typical tools on Snapchat or other,
Thank you. Thank you so much for the questions. And then I have a question for Erica. And so basically, I know that you took a leap and then started the Ryzo, and then wanted to understand, who, especially Todd, he was on this team of AI and future of work at Google. So definitely wanted to understand your perspective and then how you actually take advantage of AI to actually, who actually in your team define the future of your studio.
It's great. Well, it's interesting because I think I'm the chief creative officer. So we started out really just looking at stories and the importance of telling stories that matter and figuring out how to activate them. And that was really our huge purpose. And then as technology just started like entering the conversation, we were like, wow, this is such a tremendous question for us as human beings. We have to figure out, like, number one, we love artists. This is weird, but I did not start an animation studio to cut artists out of the endeavor. Like, one of the best things about filmmaking is it's a collaborative act, that it's very, very difficult to make a film all by yourself. And that gives you this power. Larry, I loved what you said when you walked in, that it's like the mix of people makes something more powerful. And we certainly believe that about stories. So when we started kind of inviting AI into our conversations, we were like, what is it for? And what we finally realized is, like, for us, it's another brain in the room, and it's got this beautiful swiftness, right? Like, there's something to just being able to throw it into your creative mix on all levels. I use it sometimes as a development exec, like literally I use ChatGPT. I don't know if any of you guys are in the industry, but development execs are people who kind of help you shape the idea. They very often reflect what you pitch them your story, and then they reflect back like what they received from the story. And it's great because it really shows you whether you're making sense or not, whether your story has power, whether the themes that you're hoping are there make sense, whether it's funny. And honestly, like, I throw things into ChatGPT and I'm like, what do you think? That's what I asked ChatGPT. What do you think? And it's like having this development exec come back at it. But we also made this promise to ourselves that we did not want AI to be the first the first place that we started generating ideas. That for us, the creative process needed to come from our hearts, from a vulnerable place, from something that is a story that has power, for us personally, because we've just seen that over and over again in studio life. Like when people try to like kind of assemble a generic story. I mean, development execs, again, studio execs have been trying to do what AI can do with mashing together a lot of great things and finding a way to interpret it and make a story out of it. But that doesn't mean that that story is the one that wins. We really believe that the story that wins is the story that has like a human side to it that's really essential. But that said, we definitely love having it in the room. We love having our artists learn how to use it, to not fear it. Because I think also we work with a lot of former Pixar folks who are super experienced, and ironically, they're the ones who are the most curious about it. I thought that it would be young people, but I think the young people, number one, they fear that their place in the room will be replaced by AI, which is a very legitimate fear. And I am also afraid of that. I want people to have jobs and have a way to be creative. But the older artists have lived through so many technical innovations. And I think what has happened for them is they're like, oh my God, this stuff that has taken so long and can be so like just really, really detailing, like you can do so much of it with AI so quickly. And then you can get down to the really big questions about like, who's this character? How does this character feel? How do we change this story to make it better? So, I mean, we're using it like in animation. What we're really looking at right now is we still haven't made our first feature film. So going through this process of like, where is it going to be of use and wonderful? Where is it going to kind of replace something that maybe we don't want it to replace? And honestly, for me, when is it going to get more directable? Like I loved when you were talking about, I'm sorry, I missed your name, but when you were talking about your product that writes code, I was like, sorry, it was so wonderful. Like sometimes you need people to push the buttons for the colors because it's just like so much easier than trying to ask a computer to do this for you. And I think directability is a big, big thing. Like I do a lot of work with AI in Midjourney and in Firefly. And if you can't, it's just this interesting thing where you're constantly like writing and getting better and better at writing prompts. But there's a space where you're like, I just want to talk to an artist. And so that's very often where I like take the picture out of the place where it originated, and then I do it in Photoshop, or I send it to my artist and I say, this is what I'm hoping for. And there's always like an interchange. So I hope that answered your question.
Of course.
Okay,
Thank you so much for your perspective. I definitely wanted to continue the conversation with you. Yeah, thank you. And then next, we're so lucky that Nicholas, you're here. And then thank you so much for your time. And so we have a full house here. And then thank you for joining us, remotely. When we actually look at what you're building at Booth.ai, and then we were so impressed because machine learning means a lot of guessing. So most of the products that a lot people have are oftentimes not very consistent, and meaning that it cannot be used commercially. However, when we saw Booth.ai, and then we mentioned that to a lot of the Fortune 500 or e-commerce sites, they were so excited because they were saying, look, I hire a celebrity and then I have to fly them somewhere first class and then have the set, hotel, everything, crew, millions of dollars. However, like when they look at Booth.ai, and they were like, this is like, to save us so much money. But we don't just wanted to save people money. We also wanted to understand how your product can actually help everybody, and how do you do the alignment and then everything. So why don't you take away, and then let me stop my sharing if you need to share your screen. Thank you, Nicholas.
Thank you so much for that intro, Sue. Really excited to be talking to you all today about Booth.ai. Alignment is a really core thing of something that we do at Booth. And alignment is pretty hard in the image space. So let me share my screen and I'll present, and then we'll dive into a live demo of Booth as well. So I heard Midjourney mentioned. Midjourney is an incredible tool. You can create amazing images with it, but it struggles to produce images that are commercially viable. And when you're selling a physical product, it's really important to be able to get your product in the image. So, in Midjourney, you can go in, you can describe what type of photo you'd like, you You can even, inspire Midjourney, but it's going to change the product. Whether it's a CPG product, it'll change the text and the structure, or even something in furniture, it's changing the structure. With Booth, we enable you to keep your product and place it in new environments, new contexts, new scenarios, so that it's commercially viable, so that you can use these in place of a traditional photo shoot and directly on your sites or directly in your marketing materials. Alignment is hard. The way I think about alignment is do what I mean, not what I say. So there's a few criteria when it comes to using commercial images and AI. The first is make me a beautiful image, right? That's like the core of what we're trying to get at. Images sell products. It's a really big thing. The second is, okay, well, I need to control this in some way. I need this conditioned on some text because I want to influence the image that's created. The third is, okay, I have a product and I want you to integrate this into your image generation in a seamless fashion. And you can see each of these stages of alignment have some failure cases and failure modes. So if we look at this first one here, here's a chair where we did it properly. And you can see that it integrated the chair, it made a beautiful image, but it put the chair as part of a backpack, right? And this is when alignment goes wrong. Here we have a CPG bottle, and the scale is just entirely wrong, right? Where it's a massive, massive bottle. And here we have shoe, we call this one shoe head, where we wanted to put it on a model, and it gave it legs and it gave it faces, but it really didn't give it anything in between. So there's all these parts of alignment, and when you're building these systems, you discover all the failure cases of them. And this is why I say do what I mean, not what I say, because it's like playing whack-a-mole all the time of the ways things can go wrong. So these are all images from early Booth development as we were working on the alignment problem in the image space. We've come a long way since then, and I'm excited to kind of show that in the demo coming up. So intro to Booth, we are powered by Generative AI. We're an image production platform. We focus on e-commerce, as that's the largest need that we hear for photo production. You get instant output of your photos. There's an entire suite of editing tools built into Booth as well. And we support large scale for our enterprise clients. There's a variety of different workflows that we have at Booth. And this is also kind of part of our alignment, is that you need to come into Booth with particular intent. What type of image are you looking to get out? What type of imagery do you already have? So we support categories across CPG, furniture, and fashion. We've been adding a lot of fashion workflows lately, as a lot of our users are in that space, and traditionally is a super expensive type of photo shoot to do. So I'll talk a little bit about our fashion before we go into live demo. This is the Booth interface where you can set up your scene, upload your products, specify the AI avatars that you want to use within Booth. And one of the workflows we have is mannequin to person. So this is kind of part of the image space where you want to represent your product and you want to represent it well, but you don't have the budget or the time to shoot on model, but you have a mannequin. So you can shoot on mannequin, and we transform this into a virtual model while keeping all the same attributes of your clothing that you're selling. And you can see that a mannequin helps because there's volume, built into the mannequin. But we also support flat lay workflows. So flat lay, you don't have any volume, right? It's laid flat. And you don't actually want to keep this whole image. This is another example of the alignment problem, where this part of the shirt here, you don't want that to appear in the image because the person is going to block them. So Booth has ways of aligning our generations to the intent of the user. So we're able to ensure that's not part of the generation and have controllability in the image. We also have different model swapping workflows. So say you love the composition of a shot, but you want to introduce more diversity into your catalog, you're able to do that with Booth. Various ways of doing that. And lastly, what I showed at the beginning is being able to recontextualize the images that you already have for use in social media. There's a constant need for new imagery, particularly on social media. Posting frequently is really important to stay relevant to your audience. And Booth offers a fantastic way to repurpose your old imagery into new, exciting, relevant imagery, whether it's seasonal or anything like that. So that's the end of this slide deck, but it'll be a lot of fun to hop into live demo. So as I showed before, this is the Booth interface. Do some avatar workflows to start with, but would love to get recommendations as well of where to take this, what type of products to do during the demo. I'm not sure if there's audio capabilities on the other end, but we'll go through one workflow and then I'll take a pause.
I am. My kids are watching all right now. Oh, really? I'm all down there.
Select, say, the shirt.
Yeah. So
this was a flat lace shirt. It looks like this. No mannequin, no model. And we're able to place this on a virtual model using Booth. So on the side, we have our avatar selector, and we'll go ahead and we will select, say we'll select Robert. And we can position where we want this to appear. So we can adjust the zoom and the scaling. We want to make sure that there's room for Robert's head and his legs and everything like that. We'll hit confirm. And we'll describe the scene that we want Robert to appear in. So we just did a holiday scene here. We'll mix it up and we'll do something like in the rustic outdoors. Then we'll say model wearing jeans. So you can use Booth to do different pairings as well within fashion. So if we wanted them wearing jeans or wanted them wearing different pants or outfits, we're able to specify all that with text. You see that we've queued up a batch generation. This will take around 30 seconds, but while we're doing this, we'll just go in and we'll queue up one more, and then we'll come back to this in a bit. Okay, so this is our mannequin to person workflow. Let's look at our flat lay workflows next. Person. Here is a ghost mannequin where we're able to put it on model as well. But I'm looking for a flat lay shirt we can use. Here we go. Here's a flat lay shirt we can use. So again, let's do the, that's not right. Let's do this one. Let's do some model change. Here we go. So here we're able to swap in a different person and different background into the scene. So we can go in and we can place them in, say, a studio. And then we can place them as well. Let's say they're cold, so in the streets of New York City. Let's say Times Square. All right, and it looks like this generation should be complete soon. It's a busy day at Booth, so these are queued up. While these are generating, I'd love to kind of get some ideas where to take this, whether in this photo shoot or different workflows or products that are of interest to people. So I'll show this up again of the different workflows that we have capable. Here we are. So the first generation completed. And if we zoom in here, we see a few things. We see that we've maintained the product. We've placed this person. It is the right avatar. Placed them in the great outdoors, in the rustic outdoors with green trees and sunlight. And we have a few options once we've created an image. We can edit the image, we can relight the image, we can erase parts we don't like. This image is pretty good. Typically, we'll go in and look at the hands. I think we have the right number of fingers. As you all know, this is a major problem in alignment, is the number of fingers that a person has on their hands. Okay. We have another one. Okay. For distracting object. Okay, so here's an idea. So say we don't like this on the right-hand side. We want to clean up this image just a little bit. We can go into the edit mode of Booth. We can use the brush and we can say erase this entire side of the image. Hit the erase button here. So we offer editing tools that make it easy to get the result that you need if the generation you have is close, but not exactly what you're looking for. We've erased this side, and we see that it is gone. So we can go back to the old image and the new image, and it's gone. So built into Booth, we have editing tools. Okay, now if we go back to that sweatshirt, we're still in generation mode. It's a busy day for the servers. Here we go. So the first shoot that we did was in indoors in a photo shoot. And then the next will be in Times Square as it comes through. We can look at some CPG workflows as well for non-fashion, non-model workflows. So I'll scroll down. And let's use one of these products. So for this, we'll change the mode to our product to scene change. And for here, we can swap in kind of different backgrounds, different scenarios. So we'll put this, say, on rock in the rainforest with a waterfall behind. And we'll hit generate. See if the sweatshirt is complete. Still working on the sweatshirt.
Thank you, Nicholas. While you were doing the demo, and then I wanted to save time and then open to the floor and if anybody has questions. Okay, Professor.
So in backend, you just fine-tune the publicly available large language model, or you pay OpenAI for generating each image?
Yeah, Professor is a professor at the UCLA and also advising Amazon. So it's a little bit something that he's very interested in.
Of course, of course. Yeah, so we have our own fine-tuned custom versions of foundation models. That's where we pair in the core quality of image generation that comes from training on large data sets with the ability to tailor these image models to suit our needs, because these foundation models have been trained on pretty much everything. They've been trained on crayon drawings, Renaissance paintings, and in product photography, it's typical that you don't need a Renaissance painting, for example, in that. So we have select data sets where we fine tune to ensure that the quality aligns and the type of images that are produced by the system aligns directly with what consumers would expect.
There's the little risk. Most public available large language model doesn't allow commercial use. The license is not allow that. There are some exceptions, but most doesn't allow commercial. Yeah.
Yes, so there are many open data sets. If you use open data sets, they do allow commercial use.
Okay, thank you very much. And then I know a lot of people have my email, so if you have follow-up questions, I'll be super happy to make intro. Okay, thank you, Nicholas. Thank you. You're welcome to stay if you want.
Thank you so much.
Alrighty. Okay, coming up next is our, we have a lot of people actually yesterday, I mean the day before yesterday I met, they are like comic books writers, and I realized a lot of people, they got into acting because they like to write and they like to draw those like comic books. So when we were actually looking at Fengjiao's company a year ago, and then they were actually creating this tool for comic books, and then you take advantage of generative AI. So I'm so happy that Fengjiao is here, and then I think you have the right audience, and yeah, so if you wanted to share your screen, do a demo, and much appreciated.
All right. Yeah, going to slideshow. Hello, everyone. My name is Fengjiao. I am the co-founder and CEO of Kurukuru. We are a startup working on a solution to help anyone create comics. And here by anyone, we refer to anyone with a story idea. This does not require you to have any drawing skills or art skills, does not require you to go into any Blender, complicated photo editing softwares like Photoshop. We're working on the solution that allows anyone with a story idea to turn the idea into comics, manga, or webtoons. So a little bit about our background. Me and my co-founder were both technologists from MIT and Columbia University. And we are also former webtoon creators. So we bring our knowledge and expertise from our experience working on artificial intelligence, computer graphics, and human-computer interaction into our favorite, our biggest passion. We would like to bring the joy of visual storytelling to everyone, and we're proudly backed by industry leaders, including Y Combinator, Amino Capital, and Village Global. So, this is what we talk about when we talk about comics. I'm not sure whether some of you, when the kind of comics you grew up reading, what it looks like. But today, the most popular format of comics is called webtoon, and kids these days would read webtoons on their mobile phone. So it's like a vertically scrolling, very long format of colorful images portraying characters going through adventures. And here I provided some examples of what it looks like. Today, the most popular comics are often done in anime style, so like East Asian anime style. And these are some pages created with our latest engine in beta. So the challenge in creating comics, given today the state of today's AI technology, is to create continuous images of consistent characters to tell a story. You have your main characters, side characters, the story is happening at school, it's happening in a city, or like a mysterious, adventurous new world. And you need to create tons and tons of images. And then in the tons of images you create, you need to use the same characters over and over again. You need to be able to control action, pose, facial expression, lighting in order to tell a story. And then on top of that, you need the speech bubbles, and you need to add special effects like motion blur, speed lines. There's a lot of graphics effects that creators tend to use in comics to help with storytelling. So a couple months ago, we released our V1, which is a 3D assisted character creator in the browser that helps creators create controllable and consistent characters with AI. As some of you might know, if you've tried any of these image generation apps out there, like Midjourney, Niche Journey, a lot of these apps are great when you create one character over one frame, but then that character is gone. Like it would be very, very difficult for you to reproduce the same character over another frame. And this is how our current product works. We rely on this 3D editor that the user can very easily manipulate. And in the 3D editor, you can customize your character. You can change the poses. You can also customize the pose from a set of preset pose that we provided to you very easily. And you can change character emotions from preset emotions and also customization. And last, you can take what we call a snip and ask the AI to generate a comic panel from the snip. So you can type in a prompt to further add details to the generation. And then you would click on generate. Usually it takes 5 to 10 seconds for the image to get generated, and you can get anywhere between 1 to 4 results. And with the process, you can repeat it over and over again. And every time you will get the same consistent character, and you can use this character anywhere you want in your comic story. So that's our V1, where we provide the ability for any creator to control their character so that they get any pose, facial expression, and camera shot. And today we're actually working on a more, powerful version of this, which is V2, the all-in-one comics generator. And we would like anyone to create comics at the speed of thought. And this new version is launching soon. Just now, I was able to show you some sample art from the new app we're working on. So here's some more frames that you can, take a look. You can control the character with a very similar mannerism. As I just showed you, you can pose the character, control the facial expression, you can type in prompts. So any of these frames, including the shot, the exact camera angle, and everything is fully controllable. And you can create many panels of the same character over and over again. You can also create this thing called a chibi style. It's a like a cartoon style that to portray a character in a very cute way, like this, the tiny one here. Yeah, you can tell stories basically with this new tool that we're building. Unfortunately, the V2 we haven't launched anything yet, so stay in touch, and hopefully we're very excited working on this new tool, and hopefully you'll get to use it pretty soon for your dream stories. Thank you.
Wow, that's well, the other day I actually was at the event, and then one of the organizers for Comic Con, and they heard of your product. I guess like you've been doing some marketing.
I guess I don't know where they heard about it.
Okay.
Like maybe Twitter. I don't know.
That's wonderful.
Pretty
so
cool.
Yes, very cool. So the audience, especially those who like comic books, any questions, Web3? Okay.
Thank you for the presentation. I really love this idea. Actually, I have I want to have some story, but I don't know how to draw it. So this, I really want to use it. My question is that suppose I have a storyline and I use this to create some image and to create a book, like comic book. Who owns the copyright? So do you share like my revenue if it becomes successful, and so how to decide? Another question is that if someone else has a similar story and use your software, are we going to draw something similar? Like because we use the same software, it may create a similar images.
Yes, I'll answer the second question first. And for example, in a generation like this, if somebody used the identical prompt and then they're calling the identical model and using the identical workflow in the product, they'll be able to reproduce the character. But in fact, the creation of every character is a combination of many different prompts. And when you put these prompts together, you should be able to customize the facial features, the haircut, like the skin tone, the body type, the size of the body, and like the height, short, tall. Like you should be able to customize the character to such an extent that it would look pretty unique, and then it would be pretty hard to reproduce. But yes, if you share your prompt with another person, like that person can come into the software and create something identical. The answer to the first question is that we don't know yet. That's actually something, like, to be honest, that's something we're trying to figure out with IP lawyers. So our initial intention was to create a tool like this to allow any storyteller to create and publish and monetize comics, and we still want to do that. And as a company, the best way for us to also profit from the process is to share part of the IP. So I think the answer might be, this is something that's still in discussion. So like, there's no, in the future, when you read the terms of service, it might change. I think the way it would work might be you own large parts of the rights, so you can decide whether you sell the IP to Netflix. You can decide where the story goes and whether somebody can purchase the IP. But every time you generate revenue, we would, as a platform, we would share royalty. So it's a little bit like we are a producer on your team, like we are the AI producer of your comics, and you're still the director. Like you're the writer, director, and the owner. And we play the role most similar to a producer, and we would share the revenue as a producer would do if a person is working on your team.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Yes, one question. Okay, one last question.
Can you do animals, especially?
This is mic everywhere here. Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
I have a question. So, can you do animals, especially Shibu Inu? Possibly.
I like that.
We do animals. We need to. So right now we only have like humanoid avatars for you to pose the humans, but then we're thinking about bringing in like dog, cats, like four-legged animals pretty soon. Yes, you are able to generate animals as your main characters as well.